behavioral interview questions, how to hire the best candidates. I think this is such an important topic today with the war for talent fully hitting Main Street. There's an absolute labor shortage in so many of our customers and so many small businesses and large businesses that I think sometimes we're tempted to bring on the next warm body whose resume makes them look like they're a fit. But there's some real danger in that, and there's some best practices to follow to get the right candidate. And to help me unpack this conversation, this topic, I got a great person to do so. Mary Simmons, Vice President of HR Consulting, SHRM certified professional. If you're a regular watcher or listener of this show, Mary is our VP of HR Consulting. She's for the last 8 years been an adjunct professor at the New York Institute of Technology. And prior to Asure, she was the director of HR consulting for a 55-year-old HR consulting firm in New York. Welcome back to the show, Mary.
Thanks, Mike. Great to be here.
Okay, so I want to unpack this topic of behavioral interviewing. I think there's a lot of people who just don't know what that even means. They've never heard the term. I think there's plenty of people who have and even have gone through a little training, but I see managers just slip up all the time and either think they're asking behavioral questions and they're not, or they ask, but then they let the candidates off the hook. They don't force them to answer behaviorally, right? And they give them the spin zone answers instead. So let's back up first of all, before we even start talking about and kind of defining what behavioral interviewing is. What do you think that hiring managers and employers should be thinking about the planning process that precedes an interview in the first place?
Yeah, that's a great place to start, Mike, and it is very important. So the first thing that I would say to employers is, some use applications and some don't use applications. And of course, I'm always going to add compliance to every topic that we talk about, and just be aware that if you're giving all your salespeople an application, they all get the application. It doesn't mean that a different job class has to also get the application, but everybody in the same job class needs to get an application if you're giving it. Now, I do tend to be a fan of an application because it does ask different questions than a resume would normally be included on a resume, right?
Can you give me an example?
So the application will say, list every job you've had in the last 10 or 15 years, usually. Well, on a resume, if I'm only giving the years that I worked someplace, if I worked someplace for 3 months, I might leave it off my resume, right? And I think it's important for employers to understand the complete employment history of an applicant, of a candidate, so that they can make the best decision. And so that's why I like the application.